Hey guys, it's Kyle Thompson with Throstmeyer Real Estate Group in Kamloops, bringing you a monthly market update for August. Today we're going to be doing a composite of all property types. I will be breaking down the individual property types like single family and condos, but I'm going to do those in separate videos so that these don't end up being super long. So let's take a look at what we got here. At a glance, for the month of July, we had 188 new sales, 338 new listings. The average list price was $648,000 and change. The average sale price was just under $637,000. Average days on market to sale was 42. We ended the month with an active inventory of 744, which gave us a monthly supply of inventory of 4.82. So to keep those numbers in perspective, let's zoom out a little bit first and take a look at what those mean. As far as new listings go, so far year to date in 2023, we've had 2,205 new listings, which is below the 10-year average of 2,471. In fact, it's down about 11% from the 10-year average. And this is the lowest amount of new listings we've had in the last 10 years outside of 2020, which was obviously an outlier. When it comes to sold listings, once again, we are a fair bit below the 10-year average, 17% down in fact. So far year to date, we've had 1,251 sold listings, with the 10-year average being 1,503. And once again, this is the lowest amount of sales we've had year to date outside of 2020 when we had 1,174. So let's zoom in a little and see what things have looked like over the last year. Here is a chart of the inventory. The blue is listed, green sales, and the red's expired. So pretty much since spring market came around, the things have been picking up with a higher ratio of sales to new listings. With that, the benchmark price, which is the red line. I'm using the benchmark here just because it's less volatile than the average. I'll do the averages here in a moment, but for the point that I'm trying to illustrate here, this is a better chart. So since January, where we bottomed out at, one second. So in January, the benchmark price bottomed out at $532,400. Since then, it's been climbing, coming in July at $596,700. So we've gone up essentially 12% in the last 6 months. That means we're only down about 7% from, let me just pull up this other chart. If only I had more windows. Here we are. So in the market peaked in May of 2022 at 645,800. So we're about 50 shy of that approximately currently. Now over the last few months, with a higher percentage of new sales as opposed to new listings, the market has been favoring sellers. That is starting to dip down a little bit and is back more into a balanced market. So there's two different ways that you can determine if you're a buyer in a buyer's or a seller's market. So there's the monthly supply of inventory method, where they just take the trailing average of the last 12 months, they call that the absorption rate, and then they divide the monthly supply of inventory by that. So that's what we get, that 4.83. Anything under 5 would be considered a buyer's market, anything under 5 would be a seller's market, between 5 and 6 would be a neutral market, anything over 6 would be considered a seller's market. Then there's another method that we can use called the sales to new listings ratio. With this, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a ratio of the new sales to new listings. And so with this method, anything between 40 and 60 is a neutral market, with anything over 60 being sellers, below 40 being a buyer's. If you look at the graph, you can see that coming into we peaked down. It was we troughed down in January, where it was a buyer's market. We had a steep incline up into the spring market, and then we were sitting in seller's market territory up until last month in June, when we dipped into neutral territory. And then again, we fell a little bit further in July into buyer's territory. So according to this method, we're in a neutral market, and according to the monthly supply of inventory, we are ever so slightly in a seller's market territory. So let's go ahead and take a look at what happens at the individual sub-area types. So this is just a table of the sales from August of 2021 to July of 2022 versus the last year, so August of 2022 until July of 2023. And as you can see, the percentage change is down a lot pretty much across the board. Now, something to keep in mind is that the 2021 was record years, so it is a little bit biased, but still we're down 29.34%, which is massive. When you look at just the year over year changes, you can see that a lot of areas are actually faring better than they were this time last year. So things are starting to trend back upwards, as I was pointing out earlier. When it comes to the average sold price, it's a bit more of a mixed bag. If you take a look at the table here, one thing I want to point out quickly is that this is organized so that the areas that have the highest number of units sold are at the top, and then the fewer they have is towards the bottom. So when that happens, if there's fewer sales in the area, the numbers can fluctuate more because it's an average price. So areas like Heffley, Paul Lake, and Red Lake have huge changes, but a lot of that is due to the low sales volume. With that in mind, we can see that areas like Brock, South Cam, North Cam, Valley View, and Barnhartvale have been hit pretty hard, whereas areas like Sahalee, Aberdeen, Batch, and Dallas have actually fared a fair bit better. If you want to take a closer look at this, go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to move on to average days on market. So once again, we're going to zoom out and do the 10-year year-to-date average at first to keep things in perspective. So far in 2023, average days on market to sell has been 51, which is 6 days below the 10-year average. We are quite a bit higher than both 2021 and 2022 year-to-date, where we came in at 44 days and 31 respectively. But once again, those were kind of the peak insanity. And so we are trending back towards the historical average at the moment. When we zoom in and we look at a 12-month trailing average, we see that over the last 12 months, the average days on market to sell is 52 days. And in July, we came in at 42. So actually, that is the fastest in the last 12 months, trending down from in May, we had 47, June, 48, and then in July, we dropped all the way down to 42. When we break that down into the sub-area types, what you will see is that the areas closer to the city center are selling much faster, which would be expected, outside of Rayleigh, which actually had one of the lowest in the series at 39 days. Areas like Sun Peaks, the South Thompson Valley, Campbell Creek, and Monty Lake were taking the longest to sell, with areas, pretty much most of the sub areas near the city center, averaging right at or below that 50-day number. So the last thing we're going to talk about is affordability. So what I did here is I just took the average benchmark price of a home last month, and then I compared it to a benchmark home, the same thing, 12 months prior. Then I went online and I grabbed a fixed and variable rates for the time period off of ratehub.ca, and then threw that into a mortgage calculator so we could see what happens to the actual affordability of the homes. So 1 year ago, in July of 23, the benchmark home was $617,800. This year in July, we dropped down over 21,000 to $596,700. That means that your down payment dropped from 37,000 and change down to 35 and change, saving you almost $2,000. Now, fixed rates went up just over 1%, whereas variable rates went up almost 3.5%. Now, if you take a look at what that does to the payment, if you were to buy a benchmark home 1 year ago compared to today with the current interest rates, with a fixed rate mortgage, you'd be paying about $237 a month more. But if you had got a variable mortgage, then you'd be paying over $1,000 more. So that makes a massive difference. That's it for today. I hope that you guys got some value out of this. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, particularly the ones where I break down the individual property types like single families and condos, be sure to check out my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.